Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mondays with Mel. My name is Melissa Chung-Mowat, and I am the NDP candidate running in the federal riding of Winnipeg North. Thank you for joining us today. Mondays with Mel is all about connecting with constituents, with community and thought leaders around realities that influence the lives of folks living in Winnipeg North. The theme that we always come back to is all of us together. I'm really so thrilled today to be joined by Maribeth Tabanera. Maribeth, Maribeth is an educator, an organizer, and an artist, and an activist. And I may be missing some other hats as well. And so I'm just really so happy to have you here. And Maribeth also has deep roots in Winnipeg North, having grown up in the North End. Hi, Maribeth.
Hi, nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Is there anything I've missed? I feel like I haven't done you quite justice in your intro.
Yeah, I think you did great. I guess specifically in terms of my art practice, I am a dancer, choreographer, specializing in street style dance forms, some of them including hip hop, breaking, and house, voguing. And I also DJ as well. And yeah, I just love to create and create with community, which also kind of relates to my day job, which is me teaching at Seven Oaks Met and Maples Met School, working as their learning through internship coordinator for this is my fourth year now, but I've been working in the Seven Oaks School Division for 8 years now. So,
And I think one of the hats perhaps that hasn't been mentioned is I feel like innovator would perhaps be another hat. And just even within your work as an educator, the program at Maples Met and Seven Oaks Met is very innovative. And I do recommend that folks, if they haven't heard of this model before, definitely look into it. And just to touch a bit on your work, we're not specifically focusing on your work as an educator today, but I did have the opportunity to listen to your talk with Mood Disorders Manitoba that you did recently, and you shared a lot about the impacts, the specific and unique impacts that your students have faced over the last year and a half in navigating the pandemic, and just wondering if you have a couple, any thoughts to share on that. I know we could spend this whole time on it, but I just wanted to honor that because that's been really heavy work that you've been carrying and that your students have been carrying.
yeah, I my main point in reflecting on what the kids have taught me is their hope and their resilience. As a young person, like just being a young person, period, is just so like there's so much to learn, and it's everything is so unknown. And then you added the layer of COVID, and I really was like concerned about like what's going to happen to our young people or their mental health, and like what about their future, so in just the type of work that they were doing and getting involved in and the type of attitudes that they were bringing in September, it was so positive and hoping for the best. And it's still the same, like we're in our third lockdown, and they moved into lockdown quite easily, like our students did at the Met schools, and they're still planning for their futures, thinking about graduation, thinking about what they're going to do. And so they have just been such an inspiration, still diving deeply into their interests and passions and connecting with folks. And it's truly a reflection of like the hope in the future generation that we have, right? Like that even though you put this insane challenge in front of them, that they were still able to learn in this environment. And for some students, actually, this new virtual dimension of learning was a new beginning for them, because for some students the reality is the institutional buildings like schools are not has not and been a safe space for them, and so it offered this new space for them to be able to engage with school that maybe was never offered in the past. So yeah.
And I think being working in that environment, that doing things differently isn't new to you and to your colleagues and to your students, I'm sure. And so it's great to hear that there's still been that inspiration and that hope coming out of some really tough times. And I think that one thing that we talked about before this is just about how, you do such diverse work in the community, and that all of the work is very much interconnected. It's really, all of it's about community. And so I was really hoping to talk a bit today about your work specifically as an organizer. And perhaps you could tell us a bit about how that has shifted, and what some of those opportunities perhaps have been to engage in community and provide those opportunities. I've been hearing so much about, joy these days, and knowing that we have the right to joy, and we need to seek out those opportunities, and we can find that in community. And so perhaps you can tell us a bit about that work as an organizer and creating these spaces in this new way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was important as much as like the work that needed to get done during the day with the kids, like where was the places that I was going to be able to find joy and healing. And for me, that was like through my artistic practice. So that in itself, like number one is like take care of yourself, make sure you're well. And it's really easy for me as a person that's like always involved in community and multiple communities to like seek that out. But obviously this time was a time for inward reflection and inward in thinking. And so for me, what really brought me joy is that connection. So we can still do that virtually. And I did end up doing like virtual dance sessions through Zoom or Instagram live streams so that I could still have that community engagement and communication, but still in a safe manner. And the same thing goes for my work as an organizer. So I'm involved with the Seven Oaks Philippine Employees Association, as well as Cultivation Festival. And at first it was hard because we were all just really in shock for the first few months and trying to navigate balancing, our work. And but after giving each other time and space, I think there was something inside of all of us that was like, again, missing that connection. And so beginning to think about, okay, what is within our means right now to be able to host something, but also like not put so much pressure on ourselves to host or to even meet, because Zoom fatigue is real, right? So adapting to the changing rules of meeting with people in person or not, was something we still had to also be mindful of. But yeah, very important to still continue to connect, and then think about like, what can we offer at this time? And sometimes it was literally just a space, like, the space to meet and have a conversation and check in. Sometimes it is to have maybe a deeper conversation around a topic that is, something that has been challenging our community. So like, for example, with Seven Oaks Philippine Employees Association, where we've been involved with the Filipino bilingual program over at Arthur E. Wright, right? And so, if we don't make time and space to have these conversations, how can we expect for a program like that to continue, right? To continue to thrive and for people to be interested in, like, it needs that people power behind it, and it needs that outreach and advocacy. So that's been one of the main focuses for us. Of course, we always do the Filipino Independence Day celebration in June for the Independence Day on the 12th, but this year we decided we're gonna postpone again because we as educators we're tapped out. Like it's been a really challenging year. So we're doing what's within our means. We're still thinking about it for next year. Of course, it's our 10th year anniversary. And then with Cultivation Festival, we started meeting again consistently over the last few months, and we were like, what can we do? Well, why don't we do a virtual summit? So on June 12th, we're going to do a Halo Halo Summit, which will have model minority programming with the Prairie Asian organizers helping. And then we have a youth panel for career development topics, and then a networking option for people later to connect. So yeah, it's really, we got to be creative, and it's easier to be creative in groups, right? So yeah. That's what we're doing.
And I just want to honor the incredible work that you and your colleagues have been carrying, and yet somehow you still find that space to want to do more. And I think it's so important, again, to also know that we need to focus too on self-care. And I really encourage anyone who hasn't seen the panel through Mood Disorders Manitoba to check it out, because there's you offer some great tips too on how to do that inward kind of care. And we need to do that when we're helpers in the community. It's so important to do that. One thing with yes, Saturday, June 12th is Philippines Independence Day. I did see the information on the Hello Hello event and summit, and I've signed up myself. I see that it's a collaboration between Cultivation Festival, Prairie Asian organizers, the Manitoba Filipino Business Council, and ANAC. Mm-hmm. And what struck me and stood out to me about this online opportunity is that it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems as though it's honoring your parents and your heritage as Filipinx people, and also celebrating all of the strength and innovation that this generation is bringing, and that beautiful kind of mashup between your cultural roots and your experiences here, and your home here. And I think what also struck me is that it's this celebration which is also open to everyone that can, enjoy it and come together. And so was that really deliberate in the planning and in being able to offer that opportunity of celebration, and then to also open it up to the broad community to participate in that celebration as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this was really grassroots. Like this is the idea. I mean, Cultivation Festival was the idea of Alan Pineda and Joseph Arobia, and this was fall before the pandemic that we really first started coming together as community members. And of course, we have many other organizations that do wonderful work and celebrate Filipino culture, but we saw a space and need for celebrating, the culture and the innovations that are happening within the first and second generation or third generation of folks that have lived here. And unfortunately, due to colonization, like we are siloed, like we have kind of we're doing great things, but we're all kind of in our own lanes. And there hasn't been a lot of cross work between these professionals. And we thought why can't we celebrate and be in joy with one another, and be in conversation with one another? Because we know that, as young people, for us growing up in the 80s, 90s, we really didn't have those older mentors to look up to even have these conversations about what it's like to maybe go down a route that is not as a traditional as in the past for career paths. So yeah, we just saw that there was this need. And so that was sort of the main kind of driving force at first. And then we also kind of had this moment during the pandemic, this kind of self-reflection moment, okay, so what has been done already, and what could we do better, right? And this idea again of dismantling these toxic traits that have been passed down through colonization, like model minority, crab mentality, right? And how can we as a group educate ourselves to do better for future generations, right? Why can't we build those bridges amongst within our own community, with our elders and our young people, so that's has you have to have everyone at the table, right? So that's just within our community, and that we also still need to have a lot of healing and learning to do within our own community. So that's sort of our main focus first, and that's why we are having that summit coming up, and what our focus will be. But also in parallel to that, there has to be coalition building with other communities, especially other BIPOC communities, because that's also, we have similar but different experiences, and we can learn a lot from that conversation. So yeah, it's always been a focus for cultivation to do this in a way, to do this in a good way, and to do it truly in a community way. So yeah, we're really excited. I'm so very excited, because we were hoping to do a thing, last year. But it is what it is. That's what the universe planned for us. And in many ways, it was a blessing because now we've had the time to really think and percolate about like why do we need cultivation and why do we need time and space for us as a community first and then as to the larger community. So yeah.
Well, untangling and grappling with the lasting effects of current effects of colonization, of white supremacy, and of what that means within a community, but what it also means across diverse communities is work that takes a lot of deep thinking and unpacking. And yeah, to have that space, I can see that being really meaningful too, to be able to kind of pause and reflect on that. And just one last thought on that. I think what's really interesting and what I've been seeing, across diverse communities is this real desire to reconnect with cultural roots. Because I think, like you were saying, there wasn't that opportunity in this generation as first or second, or like you're saying, third generation Canadians to fully take on language or whatever that might look like. And there's this push across, I think, immigrant communities to do that. And I'm hearing about the language programs at Seven Oaks that you were talking about, and also within Indigenous communities. I think this is a common thread, is this deep desire to want to reconnect, and then to also want to you know connect across our diverse communities and build those opportunities for coalitions or solidarity building. And so when we find strength in ourselves, and we can support each other, one another, better, in all of the different work that we need to do. So I think it's really important what you're doing, and I really appreciate the opportunity myself to learn more about the Filipino community here in Winnipeg, and to have some of these spaces to learn. And so if folks are interested in participating or getting involved, is there a way for folks to do that for either cultivation or for the Halo Halo Summit?
Yeah, so the Halo Halo Summit registration is still open on Eventbrite. So you just have to look for Halo Halo, HALO Summit. And you can sign up for any part of the day. I would encourage families to even come together. Like that would be a wonderful thing to have. And then cultivation, we have a website. So you just have to Google Cultivation Festival. Maybe you can Google Winnipeg or Manitoba and help you with your Google search. But yeah, just reach out. Like we're still, again, in planning phases. We're still solidifying like our, mission and values and our bylaws. So it really is like truly like a reflection of our community. And so we want as many people as possible to be involved, of all generations. So
Awesome. And that's cultivation with a K.
yeah.
And yeah, and I also know that there's opportunity if folks are able to support the scholarship fund, that's also incorporated into the event. And so people can find that information on the Eventbrite link. Maribeth, we always try to wrap up our conversations. And again, thank you so much we tried to cover so much, and it's because you're doing such interesting, diverse work. So I feel like we didn't quite do it all justice, but it is wonderful to learn about your roots here and all of the work that you and your colleagues and your friends and networks are doing. The one question we like to end on is, and it's a very broad question, but why is your community important to you, and what can we do together to build on its strengths?
My community is important to me because it's family. It's helped me to become who I am today. And I think that if we can continue to like inspire our young people to like really dive deep into what they're interested in and what makes them passionate about things, and you know why it's important to give back to the community, like I think that's going to uplift us as a whole. And yeah, there's challenges. There's no doubt about it, right? There's challenges in our world. And so how can, my question is, I'm going to pose this question, is like, how can you empower other people, especially young people, to take on those challenges with their talents?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
think that's a great question for people and for myself to think about. And, I've been very passionate myself too about mentorship and youth mentorship, and it's so important. And it's so important for community building and having strong communities. So we'll pause there and we'll all percolate on that question. Yeah, thanks so much, Mary Beth. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's been wonderful to have you. We will see you next Monday. And Mary Beth, thanks again. I look forward to staying connected.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.